By the time you're watching this video, we will have spent over 100 nights on anchor out of the 260 nights that we've been on the Great Loop this year. We're often asked how we find anchorages and what our anchoring process is, so we figured we'd sit down and talk all about anchoring in today's video. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss next week's video where we continue our Great Loop journey on the Ohio River into Kentucky Lake. Let's get into it.
Welcome to this week's video. We are in some new scenery. You can see the waterfall behind us, and we are about to talk about why we like to anchor.
And what better place than right here?
This is a big part of why.
We get a lot of questions about how we pick anchorages, what our anchor setup is. If you've been watching our loop videos, you know that we anchor a lot, and I can actually give you a statistic. Tonight is our 98th night on anchor. So we have been on anchor 97 nights, tonight will be 98, which is crazy. We're coming up on 100 nights on anchor. And what we're referencing is actually our dockage on the loop. We have been documenting every night we've been on anchor, every night we've spent on a free wall or free dockage in exchange for marketing, every night on a mooring ball, and every night in a marina. That is on our Patreon. So if you want to see that, see how much money we've spent on dockage, you can head over to patreon.com/navigating Nietzels, and our patrons have access to that information. But we're going to get into it and talk about why we love to anchor, how we choose our anchorages, our anchor setup, all things about anchoring.
The first point that I think we should hit is why we love to anchor in the first place.
Yeah.
Always start with why. And it may not be your why, but we like it because of the beautiful scenery we get to explore, like what we're sitting in now. I feel like when you anchor, you get to see this untouched area where you can't see on a car or on other, forms of transportation. So that's the biggest.
And you also, we have views that people pay millions of dollars in property for.
Right.
So we've just been in some stunning places that you could never have access to if you weren't anchoring.
Yeah, and then after that, we have just the peace and quiet. We really enjoy the nights. We seem to sleep better on anchor. We don't have to worry about the cars and the lights. It's the stars and the sound of the water. So yeah, it's way better for us and Ripley. She seems to really enjoy anchorages as well. She just sits out there sometimes and watches the birds. It's pretty funny.
We can feel that she's maybe a little bit more on edge in marinas just because she's seeing all the commotion outside. And yeah. And lastly, of course, we loved anchor because it saves so much money. Again, we have that included in that Excel sheet. We say if it's $2 per foot, we give you what we think we've saved. So you can go check that out. Now let's talk about our anchoring setup.
Yeah. So in order to sleep good at night, you need to trust your anchor. And for us, we have a spade anchor, which we love so much. I don't think we'll ever buy anything different. We've had really good luck with it. Josh and Haley have Mantis, and that's another very popular one. We have a 35-pound spade, and we don't have any problem in any ground type. So rocks, mud,
we don't even
sand.
have to knock on wood because we've seriously had such an amazing experience with it.
We also anchor by backing down quite a bit, probably more than most boats. I like to actually put the bridle on before backing down, just so we can really get after it, where if you set it when it's on the windlass, I think it puts too much stress on our particular windlass and our setup. So I even put the bridle on and just whip that thing in reverse, and you'll feel it. And I don't think there's going to be much weather we encounter that's stronger than the thrust of our prop. So
yeah, we have a Mantis bridle that we absolutely love. We have 100 feet of 3/8 chain, which is another thing that's probably a little bit larger of chain than necessary, right?
Yeah, the actual link itself is pretty big. We don't ever get into our rope, so we have 100 foot of chain and have not needed to go more than that on the whole loop.
We try not to anchor in anything over 20 feet. I really can't recall us anchoring in anything deeper than 20 feet, which brings me into our next point, our actual anchoring process. So let's talk about scope for a second. If you're not familiar with scope, your scope is the amount of chain or line you have out per per every foot of water that you're in. We stay pretty generous with our scope. We prefer to have a 7-to-1 scope. So if we're in, let's say 5 feet of water, which is not a lot, we would want to have at least 35 feet of chain. Now, what we do, since I'm at the front with the windlass, is I typically will put out about a 5-to-1 or 6-to-1 scope before we put the bridle on. Then we put the bridle on, and that gets us out to about 6 to 7 foot of scope.
Yeah. You have to make sure you add the height off the water your bow is. So don't forget to add that when you're calculating how much chain. And you can't always do that much, depending on how many boats are in the area, if you're going to swing or, you know, look at your surroundings. But the more scope you have, the better angle it's going to pull parallel to the ground versus pulling up. So when your bow moves like this in the wind and the waves, it's going to lift the anchor up, but the more chain, it's actually going to pull it.
A big thing, a very important thing, is setting your anchor alarm for when you go to sleep so you can sleep peacefully. And I've never set it once. Evan always sets it, so I'm going to have him walk me through.
We use Aqua Maps. We've had good luck with it. There's a
love
lot of
Aqua
other
Maps.
apps out there that are designated to it. Some boats even have built-in software to do it. But yeah, we've used Aqua Maps, and I will show you kind of how we do it. So right now it looks like our boat is on the land because we're sitting here. But I would come in and you hit these 3 lines, and you can see we have an anchor alarm option. So I click on the anchor alarm. I'm going to enable it. And we always do it after we drop because truthfully, this is not the most important thing when we're trying to get somewhere. We want to look at our surroundings. We want to talk to each other. I don't need to be looking at my phone. So after we drop, I would hit this. And I always choose option B because the anchor's already out there by the time we are going to bed. Then you just capture your GPS location. It'll take a second depending on where you are. Sometimes it's faster than others, but it's just your coordinates. And then as I tilt my phone in different directions like a compass would, it's picking that up. So I always point the phone right at our anchor, wherever we dropped it. And then I'll put how much chain. So say we put out 80 foot of chain, I type 80. I put finish set, and I always reset our track because it'll kind of show you where you swing in the middle of the night. So reset that. And then you have your radius. So this is where it gets more important. I have it set to 150 feet in the warning area of 80% of the 150. So I don't know why, you know, it's just kind of how it's set up, but I always keep it at 80 and then just adjust the radius if I want. So for instance, we'll go look at it on the screen, and it shows me where my anchor is, shows me where the boat is, and then if we for some reason get to that yellow circle, we're gonna get an alarm on our phone. And you can control the delay. So for us, it's 45 seconds. Some nights I move it down shorter because we might drift into that just for a second if the bridle gets tight and then back. You can also set low battery alarms, so if your phone gets to 15%, it'll go off middle of the night. But yeah, that's as simple as our anchor alarm is. It's much better than how they did it in the old days. If you look it up, it's pretty fascinating. They would take a pot or pan from the kitchen, tie it to the anchor, and if it drug across the deck or the fiberglass in the middle of the night above their bed, they would hear it because that's a very loud noise, and they'd like, oh my gosh, our rope's getting tight, and they would wake up and go look at it. So sure beats an old pot and pan.
So next we're going to talk about how we find anchorages, and I do want to put out there that we will probably never put out a list of every spot that we've anchored, only because it's the same idea as when you're hiking or when you're traveling somewhere new. I would really encourage people to do their own research. It helps you just respect the land a little bit more. I think everybody's needs are different, and each year the water levels are different as well. Here's how we go about our research for finding anchorages. The first step is to determine where you want to end up for the day. Now, I will say, going up the East Coast, there are so many places you can stop. It's very boater friendly. So for us, a good day of movement was 40 to 50 miles. Like that was a full 8-hour day. So literally what we would do is we would just look up where 40 to 50 miles would put us, zoom in on that part of the map, start looking for anchorages in the area.
Figure out where you want to go. That's step one. It'll change a little bit in the bodies of water you encounter. So the lakes, you know, a lot of anchorage options as well. Coming down the rivers, it's still the same idea. You still decide where you want to end the day, but it's a little bit more precise. There's not anchorages all over the place because you're in the channel. There's no coves, there's no protection from wind and current and barge traffic. So you do have to kind of follow a little bit more strict guidance on the river because you're traveling in a pack and the water just doesn't have the amount of anchorages.
We utilize a lot of our AGLCA resources, whether that's looking on the forum or on the Facebook page. People are always posting about, you know, their positive experiences. So whenever we encounter those online or other cruisers, we make sure to keep a note in our phones. But another thing you have to consider is the weather for the night that you plan to be on anchor.
We have protection right now from the north, the west, and the south.
Yes.
So you gotta choose an anchorage also based on weather. So
yeah, wind
location
more
is
so.
first, and then wind would be our next one. Just that way we get a good night's rest, and we're not up. We're not worrying about the anchor dragging or whatever else, you know.
Right.
So the next would be reviews. So Active Captain seems to be our go-to for reviews. The Waterway Guide also has reviews, but not quite as recent. I think Active Captain is the best place to go, and look for anything that's newer. You know, the last 3-4 years. And so for us, you know, it's 2020 and newer. That's super important if you have a dog as well, because we always look for shore access. Which brings me to my next point of we use Active Captain, but we also use Google Satellite. You know, it's just a simple software that's been around for a while. You don't need an app, you don't need a subscription. Go to Google, hit the satellite view, and zoom in around it, because some places you can see sandbars or shoaling, whatever there may be. It will pick it up. So especially in cleaner water, when you're in clear water, the satellite will pick it up, and we've used that several times to help us.
It'll also give us a better idea of what the boat ramp looks like as well, if there's a nearby boat ramp. I think that's it. Anything else that we should talk about?
Yeah, I know Carly mentioned we don't really plan on doing a whole list of our anchorages, but we are more than happy to suggest where we went.
Yes.
If you're along the loop somewhere, you know, reach out to us and we can suggest some of the anchorages we liked.
Next week, make sure you're subscribed, because we're going to take you with us through the dreaded Ohio River, where you go upstream, bouncing between 2.7, 2.8 knots. So seriously brutal. To Paducah and Green Turtle Bay Resort and Marina, where we just have a really special time, and it was a much needed time of rejuvenation, I would say.
These past weeks we've had some sit-down videos to answer questions, but we're going to be back on the normal adventure, and we're excited for this one.
We are. So with that, like I said, we have a couple resources on our Patreon, and I would love to thank our newest Captain Circle members. We have Teresa, Duncombe, Tom, and Dawn, and we are so grateful to them for becoming our most recent patrons, and we're just so appreciative of all of our patrons. We do monthly Zooms. We have one coming up in November, and we just have a really great time connecting with all of you guys. So if you want to join us over there, patreon.com/navigatingnietzels. I think that's it.
Yep, now it's time to go find Ripley. She's been
we've been letting
out
her
and
run
about
around.
while we do this, so
love you, bye.
Love you, bye. Here she
We're
comes.
still recording.
Here she goes.
Come here, Ripley. Come here. Yeah, you've been out. You've been exploring.
You want to get on camera.
Yeah.